Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Posted to the US information session. My name is Ashley Young, and I am the program specialist with our team and will be presenting tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce Felicia Arsenault, our senior manager, to say a few words. Felicia?
Thanks, Ashley. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this evening's session. As Ashley mentioned, my name is Felicia Arsenault, Senior Manager for our U.S. portfolio, Canadian Forces Morale and Welfare Services team. I'm pleased to welcome everyone who's joining us this evening, including members and families, key service providers, colleagues, and our chain of command partners at CAN Element NORAD and CDLS Washington. Congratulations on your posting to the United States. And of course, welcome back to any returning families. We recognize that an OCAN posting is very different from a domestic move within Canada, and of course comes with its own unique complexities, particularly while adapting to a new culture and system. Our community service providers are also OCAN family members currently living in the US, providing support to members and families across 32 states. We want you to know that we understand firsthand what it's like to move to a new country and, of course, the opportunities and challenges that come with it. We work closely with a wide range of partners to provide practical resources, programs, and services designed to support families posted to the US. Our goal is to share helpful, timely information and to support you as you navigate the many steps of relocating and settling into your new communities. Ashley and others will highlight several of these services this evening. While tonight's session is intended to share information in advance of your move, we understand that you will likely have many additional questions beyond what we can fully cover and address this evening. What we will do is ensure you have access to relevant resources and all points of contact so you can receive more individualized support as needed. Our full suite of services can be found on our CFMWS website and all social media channels, where we regularly share interactive content to help make your posting a positive and rewarding experience. We encourage you to get connected and to stay connected to ensure you don't miss out on any important information. We hope you find this evening's session informative, and we wish you success as you begin your OCAN journey in the US. Back to you, Ashley.
Amazing. Thank you, Felicia. With that, let's jump in. The formal portion of today's presentation will take roughly 30 to 45 minutes and is designed for those preparing to move to the United States. We'll be covering a few key topics, including who we are at CFMWS and what we do, important steps to take before your move, some hot topics like healthcare and employment, and then we'll wrap up with a Q&A session. If you happen to have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to type them in the chat where they will be monitored and addressed at the end. Before we get started, I'd like to note that throughout the presentation, you'll see QR codes at the top right corner of your screen, along with the corresponding link. If you're looking for more information on any of the topics we're covering, you can use those to visit the related webpage. On this slide, we're looking at a map of the US. Therefore, the QR code will take you to our locations webpage, where you can explore more information about each state. To give you a sense of our footprint, there are roughly 770 CAF members posted to the United States at any given time across 32 of the 50 states. The states highlighted in red have an MFS team member in location, where those in the darker gray are supported as outreach locations. Our mission as CFMWS is to contribute to the well-being of CAF members and their families stationed to the United States by ensuring access to information and services, thus enabling a rewarding OCAN experience. I would strongly advise you to reach out to your location provider, as they possess a wealth of information and insights. Whether it's about school districts in Alaska or tornadoes in Oklahoma, our providers are ready and well equipped to address any specific, unique questions you may have. Additionally, our team members with the red star by their photo will be leaving us this posting season, so stay connected as we recruit and hire new team members throughout the spring and summer. So, what do our programs and services actually look like? Well, they span the full OutCan experience, starting with relocation support like this information session, and extended to programs like Community Connections to help you integrate into your new community. We provide dedicated mental health support, including access to a family counselor who serves CAF families across the U.S., along with information and referrals in key areas like healthcare navigation, children's education, and spousal employment, helping you navigate some of the most common OutCan challenges. But this is just scratching the surface. We offer a wide range of supports, including child and youth programming, financial resources, as well as sports and fitness programs, all designed to help you feel supported, connected, and prepared throughout your journey. We provide these services with the help of our many partners, including the Chain of Command, On-Base and Community Resources, incredible organizations like Military OneSource, and specialty support programs like the MFS Employment Network. We also work closely with PSP, our education team, the Padres, and the Canadian Forces Health Services team. Getting started. While posted OutCan to the US, you'll fall under one of two chains of command, CANELM at NORAD or CDLS Washington, both of which have their own welcome books that will provide you with all of the policy details you'll need for your OutCan posting. If you've yet to receive yours, I would suggest contacting your support unit to request one as soon as possible, or visiting the links listed below. With that, let's start going over a few things you'll want to do, be aware of, or at least consider before your move, starting with that house hunting trip. Research and planning are key to finding a property and neighborhood that suits your needs. And thankfully, you can do many of these things ahead of time that will help you find that right fit. Websites like rentals.com or the Neighborhood Navigator will be great places to start. Again, connect with your location provider as they will be able to connect you with your community and therefore connect you with advice and insight you may not otherwise receive. During your house hunting trip, your goal is to find suitable accommodations that cover the expected duration of your tour, are within your rent ceiling and square footage entitlement, and provide a lease that includes things like a military clause, death clause, and insolvency clause. You'll also want to think about coordinating services with local utility providers, look into automobile and property insurance, and contact the local school district if you have school-aged children. Again, all of these topics will be addressed in your welcome book in greater detail. Opening a U.S. bank account should be one of your top priorities as you prepare for your move. This can be done before your HHT through cross-border banking, or it can be one of the first tasks once you've arrived for your HHT. Some institutions known to offer cross-border banking include RBC, CIBC, BMO, and TD. Note that there is a difference between a currency account and a banking account. You will require a banking account. This account is what will be used to deposit things like your rent and utility allotments. Lastly, it is highly recommended that you maintain a checking account with a Canadian institution during your posting. If a Canadian address is required, the addresses listed to the right, also in your welcome book, are available to CAF members and their families for financial documents. For additional financial guidance, we recommend connecting with a CFMWS financial advisor. They can help you prepare for and navigate the financial changes that often come with an OutCan posting, such as fluctuating exchange rates, potential shifts in household income, cost of living differences, and understanding your allowances and premiums. These topics are also covered in more detail in the CFMWS OutCan Financial Survival Guide recording, which is linked at the top. When preparing for your move, one of the things you'll need to complete is your household inventory. You'll want to include things like serial numbers, price, and pictures, especially on your higher ticket items or collectibles. It would be a good idea to maintain this list throughout your posting, as you will need it again when you're posted back to Canada. Next, some documents you'll want to be mindful of requesting earlier rather than later will include things like your driver's abstract, auto insurance history, health records, and educational transcripts. It might also be a good idea to consider having those important documents translated from French to English before crossing the border. A few additional considerations to start thinking about include things like where you plan to cross the border, and will that border crossing be able to accommodate the things you require, like vehicle importation? Also, do you have a pet moving with you? If so, are they crossing the border with you or flying? If flying, check with the airlines in advance, as some will not transport certain breeds and others will not transport during the summer months. While there's a lot to plan and prepare before your move, one area that often gets overlooked is the cultural adjustment. An outcam posting requires you to step into a new cultural environment, and with that often comes some level of culture shock. It's easy to assume that because Canada and the US are neighbors, things will feel familiar. But in reality, there are key differences that could take you by surprise. These differences can show up in all kinds of ways, from population density and state-specific regulations to things like language barriers, local wildlife, or even just the distance from your familiar support networks. Being aware of these shifts can make a big difference in how you adapt. Some ways to help ease the transition include anticipating an adjustment period, being patient with yourself and your family, staying open to new experiences, finding and connecting with your Canadian community, and reaching out for support, including from us at CFMWS. We are here to help. As noted on the previous slide, a key point to keep in mind is the importance of being prepared for those differences in climate, specifically hazards and natural disasters. I'll start by saying that it's not a matter of if you'll need to be prepared, but when. This isn't meant to alarm you, but rather emphasize the importance of understanding the risks you may face and being ready for them. Many of these hazards do occur in Canada, and you may already be familiar with some. However, depending on where you're posted in the US, they may happen more frequently or vary in severity. For example, tornadoes in the Midwest, hurricanes in the Southeast, or the extreme heat in the South. Please take a moment to look at this map, locate your posting area, and visit our webpage for a more detailed overview of the regional risks and the best way to prepare. Now we'll move into those hotter topics and the things you'll likely need to know early on in your posting. Historically, the main challenges for CAF members and families living in the US have been healthcare navigation, spousal employment, and children's education. The healthcare process in the US is different than what you're used to in Canada, but rest assured, as we work alongside the health services team to ensure we're getting members and their families the most up-to-date information regarding healthcare. All of which can be found on the CFMWS website at /US-healthcare, where you'll find tailored pathways for personalized coverage details, FAQs, and key contacts. You'll also find information about the PFAC, the Patient and Family Advisory Committee, comprised of community members dedicated to ensuring all outcam families receive accurate information while navigating the healthcare system in the United States. And now I will take a break and turn it over to the Medical Liaison Officer, Major Martin.
Good morning or good evening to all. This is just to introduce myself. So I'm Major Jaron Martin. I'm the Canadian Forces Medical Liaison Officer. I am the physician that is in the US. With me as a member of my team is Captain Tegan Rook. She is the Health Services Manager and SME for administration and navigation of the insurance systems. And so I'm actually going to turn it over to her to walk you through all of the information we have here.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone see me or hear me? Perfect. As Major Martin said, I'm Captain Tegan Rook. We are co-located with Cedarless, Washington, but we do support both. We support everyone, CAF member and family member while outcan. I know everyone's going to be receiving information as they move outcan, and the biggest one is healthcare that we find a lot of people have trouble navigating with. So to keep it real simple, on the slide beforehand, there is that QR code. I'm not sure if I think the presentation is going to be sent out afterwards. However, the main thing is to scan that because it will provide all the information and it's accessible not on D1, so you can access it on your phone. You can favorite that, and it will break down everything. If you're a CAF member, if you're a dependent, if you're following your spouse and you're on SSEP. So that will break down. So after the presentation, if you want to take time to digest the information, because there's a lot of acronyms, the website is a good resource for that. The next thing I recommend doing on your own time is on the main page of the website is the Healthcare 101 YouTube video that is led by Major Martin. It's a 50-minute video and it talks about everything healthcare related. It goes into understanding the US healthcare system, talks about the key terms, abbreviations, insurance, what insurance you'll see, whether it's TRICARE, whether it's the Public Service Healthcare Plan. If those two insurance don't cover it, can you claim through Blue Cross? It will talk about everything through that. It will talk about eligibility, if you're eligible for that, if how to enroll, as well as coverages, the billing process. So that Healthcare 101 will talk about that. It will talk about access to care. So for CAF members, your access to care is at the local base you're posted to. So the military treatment facility. If you're going to a location that doesn't have a base, there's a few. Or if you're in a remote position, please reach out to us and we can talk to you about your unique specific situation. But that video does go into civilian services. So if a CAF member is referred off base, how that works. It will talk about dependents. If you're a dependent and you get seen on base, you'll go there, but you have the option to actually be seen at a civilian facility. So we'll talk about how that works, specifically on referrals, as well as any helpful tips and resources as you navigate that. There's a lot of times issues with referrals or billing. So there's a few examples on what to do if you get stuck, essentially. And then it talks about a bit more on managing claims, a tracking spreadsheet that's available, as well as the PFAC team, and then the rest of our health services team. If you want to go to the next slide there. So yeah, it'll touch base on essentially the first step to do when you get on base is to go to DEERS registration. So you'll have to go to the visitor center to get on base to go to that office, and then you're going to indicate that you want to register as a NATO affiliate, active duty. The code is written up there. This is very key because you want it to be correct on your ID card. Because if it is incorrect, sometimes that causes issues when you get referred off base for certain care. So the wording is very important. You don't want to say foreign military because other foreign military members don't have as much healthcare coverage as Canadians do. So that is a key factor. Once you get registered at DEERS and you get your ID card for yourself and your family, you're going to go register at the local MTF at the patient admin office. So you're going to do that right away and get registered through them. And then afterwards would be to try to book your first appointment. And then usually if you made it to that part, if there were any issues, they'll come to light for that aspect. For primary insurance, as I mentioned before, CAF members, they're going to seek care at the MTF, and dependents, they can access off-base resources without referral. But it will go into a bit more on the website what a copay is, as well as a TRICARE network provider. A lot of terms understand, but please watch the video, digest it, check online, and then reach out to us if you have further questions on that aspect. If you're traveling to the US and you haven't gone on base yet, you haven't registered, this has happened before, and then all of a sudden you have to go to the emergency room, go to the emergency room, contact us. We'll help deal with it after the effect. Don't not go to the hospital because you don't have your ID yet or anything like that. Get care, contact TRICARE, notify us. That was what we recommend. It's happened before, but don't prevent yourself from going if you haven't been settled into your place yet. CAF members can use civilian facilities if they get approval from Major Martin. So that will touch base on there. If you have any unique questions, please reach out to our team on that. And then if you need base access in order to register, you have to get temporary base access. And usually your units will be able to provide each unit does something differently, but they'll pass on the best route on that order to get temporary base access to get that. So public service healthcare plan. So essentially, dependents are going to be TRICARE Select Group B. On the website, it discusses the difference between TRICARE with prime added benefits and then how a dependent will get TRICARE Select Group B benefits. Other than TRICARE at the MTF, dependents' secondary insurance will be the public service healthcare plan. So that will be essentially the second if TRICARE does not cover it. Some facilities will indicate they can do direct billing. I haven't seen it happen before. It usually messes up with it. So oftentimes in that aspect, you'll have to pay the cost and then you'll claim through public service healthcare plan afterwards. If there is a larger expense, we do hand out advances for that, for medical advances. But any sort of thing, if you're unsure what can be covered, can be found online. Recommend looking at the comprehensive coverage, as when you cross the border, you're going to initiate with your OR to change from supplementary to comprehensive. So it's your OR that will initiate that switch. Oftentimes, losing units will indicate they can initiate it. That's not the case. You're going to cross the border. Once you get on ground, you're going to initiate it with your gaining unit OR, and it's going to be backdated to the moment you cross the border. Once the switch is confirmed with Canada Life profile, then you can go on and register with MSH International, which is essentially the public service healthcare plan. Canada Life MSH International is when you're in the US. So you can go and register once that has been updated with the OR. And then you can submit the claim on the online portal. I know there is an app on a phone. Sometimes there's issues with it, but it's actually pretty nice when you can have your public service healthcare plan portal on your phone as well as your dental. Dental care. So essentially, this is the biggest one that has higher costs than it back in Canada. So we often recommend families to shop around a bit. Essentially, you're going to get dental care done for family members, and then you claim back through Canada Life Dental Care. The cost is usually higher in the US than in Canada. So when you claim back, it's going to indicate they can only claim back 3 times the eligible Ontario rate, 90% of that. So there is going to be a gap of money that you don't get back from Canada Life. When you submit that, if there's excess amount, Canada Life will provide that excess dental letter, and that excess amount can actually be claimed through our team. So you can send that letter in, and if there's an identified amount that you didn't get back because it costs higher in the US, we can oftentimes claim that back with that letter. So just keep that in mind for that one. That would fall under the Foreign Service Directives, MFSIs, as well as any R70 codes with public service healthcare plan, and dependent immunization. So there's a few things on the website. It'll indicate what you can claim back through our team. So myself or our Sergeant Kevin Ramkishore for that one. And I think, and then the key point for claiming back on that, on our website, there's a big form section. So if you click on that, it'll give you any sort of form that you might need to submit a claim. If you are doing your annual air crew, it will highlight on that. It will highlight what you need to do if you're not air crew. So every sort of form that you might need from us, we also have on the website as well for that piece. And Major Martin, if you have anything else.
No, that's great. Thanks, thanks, Tegan. So me and my team, we are down here. We are very well versed in the system. We are happy to help. We'll be on for the rest of this to answer questions. I do recommend go have a look at the website, try and find who you are, whether it be military member or family, and just have a read. And then if you have questions or concerns ahead of coming down, you can reach out. All of our contact information is there.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. All right. Now we will continue on to employment insurance. If you are eligible, it is very important that you apply for EI benefits as soon as you stop working, even if your employer has not yet issued your record of employment. Delaying your application by more than 4 weeks after your last day of work may result in a loss of benefits. To collect employment insurance while residing in the US, you must be legally authorized to work, which means holding a valid employment authorization document or an EAD. Your benefits will not resume until after you have received this document. It should be emphasized that EI benefits are also not retroactive. Therefore, the sooner you apply for and receive your EAD, the better. So what is an employment authorization document? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the document spouses and dependents over the age of 16 must obtain in order to legally work in the US. Even if you are working remotely for a Canadian company, you will still require an EAD. Additionally, you cannot apply for this document until you've moved and are physically in your location to live. It can take anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks for processing, and once received, it will only be valid for the duration of your posting, but no more than 3 years. If your posting is more than 3 years, you will be required to go through the renewal process. The best way to learn more and begin the EAD application process would be to connect with your EAD point of contact listed below. Next up, we have Children's Education, presented by Diana from Children's Education Management.
Hi, everyone. I am the Foreign Service Directives Coordinator for SEM. So the Children's Education Management oversees the education benefits, allowances, and schooling continuity for the CAF families. Thankfully for the United States, it's deemed compatible with the Canadian system. So there's not a whole lot to do in that sense. There's no working group Bs or anything required for that. So you'll be able to attend public schools in the US. And I just want to point out as well, I know many of you have already met with our guidance counselors when you were doing your screening. However, these guidance counselors are available anytime throughout your posting. If you have any questions or if you want to discuss anything, if you want to discuss post-secondary options, they're there to help you. And you can reach them through the general inquiries email that's posted on the slide. And they'll be redirected to one of our 2 lovely counselors that can point you into the right direction. So the main Foreign Service directives that will be applicable for an OUTCAN here would be 34, 35, and 51. And we'll go into a little bit more detail in the next slides. Okay, so for the education allowance, so this is covering tuition and any mandatory school fees. For the US, it's not as relevant as it's usually a public school system. However, there is a list available online that has admissible and inadmissible expenses. And when we refer to member cost sharing, we're talking about certain things such as attending a school that has a mandatory a lunch midday meal. So there is a cost sharing on that. Also, if your child's attending an IB program, and there's a mandatory cost share for that as well for members. Official language tutoring. So we recognize that some of these schools will not have French and vice versa. So this is in order to retain bilingualism within the CAF and dependents. So it's a standard 50 hours per year in order to maintain that bilingualism. And you'll need to provide 3 quotes and proof of payment for that. There's also subject tutoring. So this will require Working Group B. It's intended to offset any deficiencies, whether it's first year at post or first year returning from OutCan. So fee-paying schools when public is not available. So I know a lot of the schools in the US don't necessarily have a JK, SK, or their age of requirement to start is 5 years, 5 years old. So there is the option to submit a Working Group B for a fee-paying school. However, your child does have to be 3 years, 8 months as of September 1st to be eligible, and 4 years, 8 months as of September 1st for the SK. Another option as well would be Roman Catholic schools, which does require Working Group B, and you must have attended a religious school in Canada prior to this in order to be eligible. And for another possibility as well, you could do a boarding school option as well. So Ashbury or a compatible school similar to Ashbury. So for post-secondary school, we do offer shelter assistance for the last place of duty. So if your child is attending post-secondary in your last HQ city, as long as it's within the geographical bounds of your HQ, you could be entitled to shelter assistance. So we cover a maximum of 8 months for university and 9 for college. However, just to note that if you elected for the real estate incentive, you wouldn't be eligible for this benefit. Education travel. So this is intended in order to send the children to school. So this would be at the beginning of a posting. And just to note for this, if your child is in full-time attendance, RMC, or any other type of military program, they wouldn't be entitled to this. And as well, so it depends. So for the actual cost for elementary and secondary school, we would cover the full amount. However, for post-secondary, it would just be up to the HQ city. And then for family travel reunion, so it depends of the age of the child for this one, and as well if there's a custody agreement, but it's a maximum of 2 to 3 trips per year. These need to be booked 4 to 6 weeks in advance, and they do have to be round trip tickets. But if ever you're uncertain, you can always send an email to the generic box and we can explain to you what you need in order to have these approved. And we will need quotes, we will need quotes prior to you booking, so it needs to be pre-approved. All right.
Amazing. Thank you so much. In addition to the resources and benefits overseen by CEM, there are other supports available that can further assist you during your OutCam posting. For example, if you have access to a military installation, you'll also likely have access to a school liaison. They are located at most US bases and are the main point of contact for military families and local school systems. They offer assistance with all school-related matters, pre-kindergarten through grade 12, including transition support, school selection, referrals, and transfer of credits. You'll also have access to our MFS education team, which is made up of expert advisors with years of experience supporting mobile families and students from diverse educational backgrounds. Typically utilized when transitioning back to Canada or navigating graduation requirements and post-secondary options. So keep this in mind if you have students entering those final years of high school while out. Additionally, if you plan to check out schools while on your HHT, you may want to confirm what documents will be required for registration. The obvious ones being things like a birth certificate, proof of residence, or immunization records. More importantly, you'll want to consider the questions you may have for them. What are your concerns? Class sizes, extracurriculars, English as a second language. These are just some of the questions you may want answers to. As briefly mentioned on the previous slide, if you have access to a military installation, you'll also have access to a wide range of resources. Military OneSource is a great starting point to learn more about your specific base, as well as the programs and services available to you and your family. Keep an eye out for the Commander's Key Support Program, a US-based volunteer initiative that helps connect families with their installations. And don't forget to take advantage of the on-base amenities like the commissary and exchange, where groceries and household items are often more affordable than in the local community. Your base may also offer access to libraries, recreation centers, and fitness facilities, many of which provide playgroups, youth programs, fitness classes, and even specialized health and wellness services. Now I would like to take this opportunity to remind you that all of today's resources can be found on our website at cfmws.ca/United States, where you'll find information on just about every aspect of an OutCam posting, from the different stages of the posting cycle and key contacts, to location-specific details, upcoming programs, and helpful tools to navigate your journey. And that is the end of this presentation. So what's next? Well, we invite you to complete our welcome form, which will not only connect you to us, but will also prompt you to sign up for a relocation welcome package. Additionally, if you have a preteen or teen aged 12 and up, we would love for them to join us this Sunday for our relocation readiness program. It's going to be a great chance for them to connect, ask questions, and hear firsthand from youth who have been in their shoes. And lastly, follow us on Facebook, where all live updates and national content will be delivered first. This is where you'll find resource promotions, friendly reminders, and details about upcoming programs. And with that, I would like to thank you for joining us today. I hope the information highlighted throughout this presentation provided you with the guidance needed as you prepare for your move.